Hey guys, here today with another Shurogrov knife. Today we have in front of us the Soft Overkill. Now the Soft Overkill is the continuation of the collaboration between Sergei Shurogrov and American maker R.J. Martin. Now the first knife that was released a few years ago was the Russian Overkill. That was a titanium frame lock based off of R.J.'s Overkill model. Now we have in front of us the second iteration, the Soft Overkill. Now, some of the design inspiration for this was the fact that the original Russian Overkill had fairly slim handles. It was a titanium frame lock, like the RJ original design. However, the handles were quite slim. Some people said, especially with the contouring on the bottom half of the handles, that it was too slim for them. So with the Soft Overkill, and the change to a liner lock with these micarta handles, you're gaining some more girth in the handle, which is more faithful to the original design that RJ has. The knife was done through a lottery through Recon One, and also a site lottery on the Shurogrov website as well. There are 3 colors that are available. This was the first run in green canvas micarta. There is also a black and a maroon canvas micarta. Now, first thing I want to talk about, the canvas micarta here, you can see the green is, I think, what most people think of when they think of canvas micarta. It has a very cloth-like texture here, as you can see. The other 2 colors, black and maroon, I'm not sure if it's just the difference in the material that's being used. I don't really think it has anything to do with the color, but the black and the maroon have a much denser material that they're using. It still says canvas micarta on the box for both of them, but in fact they not only look but feel very different, almost like G10 in terms of the density and the abrasiveness. The abrasiveness of the handles as well is different for the black and the red compared to the green canvas here. So unfortunately I do not have all 3. I was fortunate enough to win this green one here, so I'll talk about this one in the video today, but please do be aware that for all intents and purposes, the knives are pretty much all the same except for the material on the scales themselves. First off, let's go and take a look at the size of the knife and do some comparisons here. Put it up against an F95, which is its closest sibling. However, we'll also put it up against a Stellar here. We have a full house this time for the Shurogrov models, the base models that is. We have here, you can see it really slots in with the F95 in terms of the size here. Interestingly, however, now if we remove some of the obvious choices here, you can see that the blade size is not quite the same as the F95. You can see if you put an F95 up here against it, you can see the F95 edge goes back just a little bit further. Put it up against a Stellar here. Just a little bit longer than the Stellar, however. Now, this is interesting because the Shurogrov website, the official website, says that the blade has a length of 100 millimeters. Now, that's due to the unique system that they use to measure the blade. I'm not sure if it's like pivot to the tip or something like that. But because of that, the F95, of course, is 95 millimeters. But in reality, when you take a look and you measure the knife based on the cutting edge, you're going to get something that's a little bit shorter than the F95. So as you can see here, just a tad under 4 inches, while an F95 is pretty much a full 4 inches and a little bit over, I believe. Yeah, just a little bit over 4 inches. So kind of an interesting fact, and something that's a little contrary to what the official website says, just based on the rules and regulations of Russia and how they measure blade length. Now for the rest of the size of the knife here, you can see with it open, we're looking at just a tad over 8 3/4 inches, and closed, we are looking at just a little bit under 5 inches. Now for the weight of the knife, let's take a look here. you can see that we're at 4.78 ounces. So remarkably very similar in weight to the original one. I believe the original Russian Overkill, the titanium frame lock, was 4.72 ounces, if I'm remembering that correctly, based off the specs on the website. Of course, I would have expected a knife with micarta handles, just the fact that it's thicker overall. Micarta might be lighter than the metal like titanium, but just given that the overall knife is thicker and there's more material being used in general, I could see that the knife would just be would be heavier, but by just that small of amount, I think is pretty impressive. So overall, same size, dimension, besides the width, of course. And very similar weight as well to the original Russian Overkill. Now let's go ahead and talk about the blade here. As you can see, we have a very beautiful M398 blade with that RJ Martin blade profile. The only difference from RJ's knives is RJ is famous for that very slight recurve that he has here on the edge. Shurgorov, I think, speaking with RJ, at Blade Show, he said that it was just something that they really didn't consider, that Sergey in particular didn't consider, and it was something that they never do on, Sergey would never do on his knives. So some people really like the new design. It's the plunge grind, you know, it being a flat grind as opposed to a hollow grind. Combine that with the straight non-recurve edge here, and you get something that is very Shurgorov, but you can see the design inspiration from the original RJ design. The flats on the blade are satin finished, of course. It's traditional for kind of limited edition knives for Shurgorov. Oh, let's see, I have some oil here so I can rub that off. The blade stock thickness is 4 millimeters, so standard stock thickness for other Shurgorov knives. You can see here we have the logos for both Shurgorov and RJ Martin on either side of the blade, something that's very typical for the collaborations as well, either to have it on the handle or the blade. You can see that beautiful large flipper tab that's just classic RJ design. I'm really glad that they didn't skimp on the flipper tab, or Sergey didn't really try to redesign it, since it's such an iconic part of RJ's knives, and it's really what contributes to allowing you to get that leverage so you can, you know, snap this knife open. We'll talk a little bit about the action later on, since I think it's such a pivotal part of the collaboration. Otherwise, let's see, moving on to the handle here. Now, like I said earlier, there were 3 colors. This one is the green canvas micarta. Personally, I actually really like micarta. It's not my favorite material, but I do like it. And Sergey said it was kind of refreshing to work with this material, since they really haven't done, they haven't really used micarta in kind of a premium fashion for a long time. There are knives like the Neon NL and the F95 NL, the older one at least, the kind of one bear version or the entry-level model, that we're using micarta in lieu of carbon fiber. But really this is one of the few times where we see micarta being used in kind of a premium fashion on a premium knife. Some other collaborations from very many years ago, such as the Cannabis, had green canvas micarta as well. So that was many years ago, so it's been a while. Some people really don't like the micarta because it stains easily, it picks up oils, depending on how kind of clammy your hands are. You can really start to see the effects on the handle. And some people kind of like the fact that it kind of picks up those oils and kind of ages, kind of like oiling wood or something like that. But other people really just don't like how inconsistent the appearance of the material can be, depending on the person that, you know, depending on how wet your hands are. This knife really, I took this knife to Blade Show for people to see, and by the time I got back, it was just completely wet. You know, everybody's hands are different, and unfortunately, it shows in the material here. So if you like that, great. If you don't, and you still really like the design of this knife, there are ways to get past that. You can take some, I like to use like a wet toothbrush, and kind of just brush it. A little bit of soap will work too. and kind of just pat it dry, and that really should remove most of the oils. Personally, my hands are very dry, but I actually just did take this knife to clean it and re-lubed it and put it back together, and I realized I still had some oil for the pivot on my fingertips. So these marks you can see right here, you can see the knife is already getting darker as I am kind of fiddling with it here for this video. But anyways, some points here. The green canvas micarta, you can see the hardware for both the clip, the backspacer, and also the pivot collar have been anodized in this kind of slate gray color. This is something that is unique to this canvas, green canvas micarta version. The other versions, the maroon, has kind of a reddish tint, not really strong and bright and vivid, but kind of like a matte red color for the hardware. And the black one has blue anodized hardware. So that's a pretty cool color, I think, to match with the black. So again, something else to differentiate the three models besides just the handle material as well. Moving on to the back here, you can see that there is one body screw that's used. It's blind screwed into the other titanium liner here. This I think is a very good improvement over the original one, which had two body screws. I wasn't really too sure why it was necessary. There is kind of an internal pin here, or sorry, internal screw that doesn't need to be visible. Perhaps maybe that's why it was like that on the original one, since the handles were so thin, they couldn't use kind of an internal screw like the F95 or the Hati have. So because the handles were so thin, probably need to use two external screws here. Another thing that I really like is that you can see here there's some chamfering going on from the rear portion where the lanyard hole is. Now this is interesting because it's like this on the original Russian Overkill as well. It was contoured titanium, but as you can see here, we get a really nice organic transition between the micarta and the liner of the knife, while still maintaining that design element that was on both the original Russian Overkill and also RJ's knives themselves. So really nice element. I really like how they kind of blended this in here without kind of exposing the titanium lanyard hole here. Now, moving on to the clip side here, you can see we have the pretty much the exact same clip design that we saw on the Russian Overkill. I personally did not like the clip as much, but now that I've seen the Stellar clip, this one looks a lot more palatable to me. This groove right here I think is kind of a nice accent, and it's just very nicely contoured here. There's also a cut in here that the clip sits in to make sure that it doesn't move, and also here, like many other knives such as, I want to say the F3s have this, at least the older F3s, there's kind of a recess in here so that the clip does not have to rise up as far off the handles as if that recess wasn't here, but it also allows your pants or whatever material you're trying to clip this onto some room to get underneath the clip. I've had no problems getting, clipping this knife onto my pants, even thick denim. Very, very intelligent clip design with the recess here. Now, something I want to talk about, and I didn't really notice until I saw the other models, but there is radial milling here on the bottom half. You can see the knife is contoured, the handles are contoured, just like the original Russian Overkill design. So this is kind of the midpoint of the handles, and it slopes this way for the top half, and then downwards the other way for the bottom half. On the bottom half of the original Russian Overkill, there was kind of radial milling that was on the bottom half here. Now on the black and the maroon, since that material is denser and doesn't look so much like canvas, it's very obvious that that milling pattern is there, just like the titanium frame-lock version. But on the green canvas, because I'm not sure the way the material is, the threads are thicker, it's very difficult. It looks as if there is no milling pattern on the green canvas version, but if you take a look very closely in just the right light, you can see that there is radial milling. Really, really hard. I don't even think I can really catch it on camera here. You're just gonna have to trust me. But honestly, it's just so faint. When I look at this, I really don't think that it has any milling at all. So if you do like that radial milling from the original Russian Overkill, perhaps maybe it might be worth tracking down one of the maroon or black micarta ones. Now, Inside, nothing too much has really changed. We still have that single row roller bearing system like all of the collaboration knives. This one also has internal milling that goes all the way through the liners. They're not just pockets, it's complete skeletonization, so you can see the micarta on the inside as well. The backspacer also has a groove that the blade sits in. That's really nice, as you can see here. With the way that it's designed, there's just no way that you can snag your finger on that tip of the knife. And just look at that beautiful blade to handle ratio here. We're pretty much utilizing everything here. Every single part of the handle, every single up into this last few 1 or 2 millimeters on the end. So really, really nice design there. Now you can see the jimping on the top of the blade. I forgot to talk about that. The jimping really isn't too functional, really more for aesthetics than anything. But as you can see here, we also have jimping that matches the style of the jimping on the blade as well. Some people had thought that this would kind of be abrasive, but given the fact that these cutouts are so wide, I honestly don't notice anything at all. One of my friends kind of felt it, but he said that it didn't really bother him. But I think it is a nice aesthetic touch to have the jimping kind of riding all the way back here and continue onwards on the blade. Overall, that's it for the the Soft Overkill. If you've noticed, some people have been calling it the Russian Soft Overkill or Soft Russian Overkill. The official name is Soft Overkill. I think soft alluding to the fact that it has micarta handles, that that composite material is not as hard as a metal like titanium. This is the official name, the Soft Overkill. And yeah, I don't want to go correcting people, but it's funny to see people kind of, I'll call it the Soft Overkill, and other people will still be calling it the Soft Russian Overkill or whatever the hell it is. Just kind of a pet peeve of mine. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really didn't think that this one would take as long as it did, since there were so many similarities to the original. But of course, I always try my hardest to find those differences there and really kind of bring those differences to light and details to light. Since again, I really love this all of Sergey's designs, and I think they're all worth talking about. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys next time.